Chapter 936, Men of Iron. Tears trickled down Zhang Xinya's face as she looked at Tang Xiu in a dismayed daze. A pang of regret bit her heart as she had asked her sister, Zhang Xinyue, to take her place at the opening ceremony of the Emperor Gao's villa complex back then. If she had been there herself, such an incident between her sister and Tang Xiu wouldn't have happened. And then? She wanted to know what happened next. The urge was pressing here, even though the final fact could never be changed. I didn't know where I was and what happened to me when I lost my reason, continued Tang Xiu. When I woke up, only then did I realize that Zhang Xinyu used her body to help me detoxify the poison. She saved my life and I'm very grateful for that, yet I don't love her. When I was in dilemma thinking about how to shoulder this responsibility, she told me that nothing happened between us. She asked me to keep everything a secret forever, and once we leave Qingcheng Mountain, we'd never see each other again. The burden inside Zhang Xinya's heart eased down a lot in that instant. Countless justifications for the incident swirled inside her mind, but none of them felt much better than Tang Xiu's explanation. At this moment, she even thought that what her sister did was the right thing. After all, the main point is that she did that to save Tang Xiu's life. Regardless of not having feelings for Tang Xiu, she probably found it difficult to just watch him die. Additionally, it also meant that Tang Xiu owed her sister a life-saving grace. Seeing the constant changing expression on Zhang Xinya's face, Tang Xiu forced a bitter smile and said, I've been suppressing this issue, and have been keeping it buried inside my mind. I thought I'd never tell any soul about it in this life. But I don't want to hide it from you anymore now. Just please don't blame Xinyu. All the blame is on me, so blame me. She saved my life, after all. Lips squirming, Zhang Xinya bit her lower lip and shook her head. I don't, and would never blame her. Instead, I'm very grateful to her for, she has saved the man I love. Tang Xiu forced a smile and said, You still love me even though such a thing happened between me and Xinyu? After all, with all the things between us, there's no way we can. I don't care. Zhang Xinya waved and interrupted him loudly. I don't care whether it was Xinyu or other women who took that role. As long as you're safe and sound, I don't care even if you want all the women under the sun. I'd still see it to the end. You can say that my love is way too extreme. You can say that I'm too stubborn in love. But this is the true feeling I have. As long as you're okay, so long as there's a place for me in your heart, no matter how small it is, I'm willing to love you. I will always follow you. Sigh, but why? Sighed Tang Xiu helplessly. I never knew what it felt like to love, nor how to love someone before, and I've never loved any other man, said Zhang Xinya. But I've decided and imprinted that feeling to you and only you. I can either live my life alone and spend my days until death in loneliness if you don't want me, or I can give you the love of a lifetime if you want me. The love that is 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times beyond the love you can give me. Tang Xiu paced forward to the front of Zhang Xinyue. He could see the tenacity and the firm expression on her face. He reached out and gently pulled her into his arms and whispered, Once upon a time in the immortal world, I was a supreme. Once upon a time in the entirety of my life, I thought I could only love her. But after I came back to Earth, a realization came to me and changes happened to my heart. You can say I'm a man with a melancholic yet passionate heart. You can argue that I had a change in heart and mind after I left broken-hearted. You open your heart to me, and I'll also take you to be my woman by my side for thousands of years. Leaning her head on Tang Xiu's chest, Zhang Xinya said with her whole body, for millenniums or even eons, even if the seas dry up and the rock decay, even if the world comes to an end, I'll never give up on you. I'll never leave you. Tang Xiu gently released her, but his hands still held her shoulders. He looked at her with a solemn expression, vowing in a deep voice, You, Zhang Xinya, are now Tang Xiu's woman from now henceforth. And you have no chance to object nor take your words back after tonight. I'll never regret it, nor do I need such a chance, replied Zhang Xinya firmly. You're a fool. Tang Xiu hugged her again with eyes staring at the night scene outside the window, yet while containing a very fulfilled feeling, happiness, and unusual affection. 10 minutes passed by. Knock, knock. The door was knocked from the outside, causing Tang Exo to release Zhang Xinya from his embrace. He waved his hand to open the door. He saw Spectre walk in while dragging the two middle-aged men who had been monitoring Zhang Xinya. Then, he ordered Gu Tao and Zhang Ju, who also tagged along. You two stand guard outside and keep an eye on any suspicious people in the vicinity. Should you find any, report to me at once. Understood. Both of them replied and went out. Tang Xiu turned and came to the sofa. He took a seat and asked, So, what's the result of your interrogation? These rabbles are nothing but a spineless bunch, boss. I didn't have to spend much energy, yet they already spat out everything they know, said Spectre. The culprit who sent them to monitor Ms. Zhang is Alloway, a famous gangster in the Mekong River area. There, he controls most of the entertainment venues in a radius of tens of kilometers with hundreds of hired thugs at the ready. Additionally, he's also Songzon's underling, a rather famous fella in Bangkok, a two-faced businessman. Tang Xiu creased his brows and looked at the two middle-aged men as Spectre threw them before him, asking, So, those street thugs are Alloway's hatchet men, the fella who got trashed by Xinya's bodyguards. Then what about you two? Who sent you? The two middle-aged men exchanged glances. They had obviously been beaten badly given their swollen faces and bloody noses. One of them sneered, You're not from around here, are you, mister? You command quite the good English, mind telling us who you are? Nope, said Tang Xiu. You don't want to tell us anything about you, so why the hell should we tell you our identities? Snorted the middle-aged man coldly. A knife appeared in Tang Xiu's hand out of thin air. He stabbed the man's arm with it, but the man didn't even make any noise and just gritted his teeth. Tang Xiu then lightly said with a smile, You got quite some hard bones, eh? Definitely not the likes of those street thugs. You wanna know about me? I got your life in my hands and I can you kill at any time given my mood. Afterwards, I'll throw your dead body into the Chao Phraya River. The man shot an angry and hateful glare at Tang Xiu and said, You won. Songzon is our boss, the underboss who controls the fate of thousands of people in Bangkok. Your men have injured Alloway and those he sent to monitor you. Just wait for our boss to send his men to hound you. So, your boss is gonna stand up for his men, huh? Asked Tang Xiu with a strange expression. He won't ever let us go. Maybe you can leave Bangkok safely, but that is if Ms. Zhang apologizes to our boss first, sneered the middle-aged man. So this Songzon fella has no goodwill whatsoever, huh? Tang Xiu shook his head and said, If so, I might as well help the Thai lawmen remove the tumor of the society here. Spectre, kill them and throw their corpses into the Chao Phraya River. But do remember, you're not to kill good people, though I do allow you to massacre those evil ones at your will. Certainly, spare me all the troublesome shits afterward. I got it, boss. Spectre grinned. Tang Xiu waved his hand. As Spectre directly killed the two men and took their bodies out, he then turned to talk to Zhang Xinya. I'm sorry you had to witness the killings, but some people must die, else they will keep pestering us and give us trouble. Also, you've chosen to be beside me, so you must be prepared for some killing. After all, the path I'm taking is destined to contain slaughter to move forward. Zhang Xinya had already seen Tang Xiu murder people, even dozens of them at one time with a very ruthless and powerful method. But she was not afraid of it. As long as she could be with Tang Xiu, it was enough to give her the sense of security she needed. I'll learn. Tang Xiu pulled her to make her sit beside him. He forced a smile and said, I'm an immortal cultivator and I'm not going to stay on Earth for a long time. You might be feeling disgusted and indignant to murder, but you'll know that later on, some people will be hell-bent on killing us even if you don't want to resort to homicide. The path of an immortal is one ridden with battles, only the strong will survive. The brutality you'll see in the other world is a million times crueler than this. Dumbfounded, Zhang Xinya asked, "You always mention this another world, but where is it? What is immortal cultivation, exactly? Is it like becoming some kind of celestial beings?" "You can say that it is becoming a kind of celestial being," said Tang Xiu. "This another world is called the immortal world, a higher plane in the universe. There are things I can't tell you for now, but I'm gonna teach you an immortal cultivation art to cultivate. I'll also lead you to the immortal world should you wish to come, and I'll tell you some important matters about it then." Zhang Shenya smiled and repeatedly nodded, "I'll follow you wherever you go. I'll be the tail that follows you everywhere as long as you don't give up on me." "Then my little tail of mine is too tired now." Tang Xiu couldn't help but laugh and said, "All right, go take a shower and have a good sleep. The commercial filming is gonna be put on hold for now, and you'll return back to the mainland with your crew. I'll take you on a trip to Thailand someday later." "Alrighty," replied Zhang Shenya happily. It was a pleasant surprise for her. Tonight, Tang Xiu held her in his embrace until she went to sleep. After she soundly phased away to the dream world, he quietly nourished her body with his primal chaos power to repair and adjust her system's functions. The next day came, and when the first wisp of sunshine pierced through the slit of the window curtains in the early morning, Tang Xiu woke up from his sleep and looked at the mobile phone vibrating on the counter. He looked at the soundly sleeping Zhang Xinya, quietly got up, and then picked up the mobile phone as he walked to the living room. "It's me," said Tang Xiu in a low voice. "Boss, I investigated last night and found some info about this Songzon fella." Spectre voice came reporting, "His men have already found those 2 dead bodies, and currently, there are many thugs near the hotel we're staying at. I reckon they should have been sent by Alloway and Songzon. Take Gu Tao and Zhang Ju and get 2 heads to send to Songzon," said Tang Xiu. "Tell him to wash his neck clean and wait for me. I'll visit him in person in 2 days. "Eh? Didn't you say that you hate troublesome things, boss?" Spectre chuckled. "Might as well let me kill them directly, I think. I really don't like troubles. But we can get more profit by solving the trouble in another way, though," said Tang Xiu. "I'm gonna see this Songzon, we could get a happy surprise from him." "All right, just carry out my order as I told you." "Roger that," complied Spectre as he hung up. Chapter 937, Lavish Gifts. Bangkok was blazing hot and one could smell a strong smell of sweat wafting in the air everywhere. The scorching sun felt like it wanted to turn the earth into a gigantic oven to cook the living within. And yet, the locals and tourists, who braved the heat, were still lingering in the bustling area of Galwa district, be it those who wandered to make a living, or those who strolled about for amusement. The Sand Lotus Club. It was the top entertainment club in the Galwa district. It was always booming in business and was filled with guests year-round. With the various entertainment it offered, it was a paradise for those with deep pockets full of money. As thriving as it was on the surface, it was also the nest of Songzon, the man who controlled the entire underground world of the Galwa district. Amid the building complex in the deepest corner were 2 low-rise houses that were built between lush old trees. Even the blazing hot sun was unable to send its beams of light to shine on the 2 houses and nearby forest path. "Boss." An ugly and ferocious-looking stalwart man donned in a black suit and black sunglasses strided across the woods and walked straight to the courtyard, in front of the houses. Eyes full of respect, he looked at the big man in white attire sitting on the sofa in front of the pool as he called out to him in a low voice. That man was Songzon. He looked up and lifted the brim of his sun hat, calmly asking, "What is it?" "Someone wants to see you outside. He said he has lavish gifts to send you, boss," said the strong man. "He's very strong and 6 of our guards on duty have been severely injured by him. Also, I can smell a strong stench of blood from him." "You know where he comes from?" asked Songzon with squinted eyes. He's a new face. It's our first time seeing him. The strong man shook his head. A very reckless fella still dares to come to see me directly. Songzon shook his head and smilingly said, bring him in over. I'll see who dares to come to see me by the pretext of sending me gifts, yet wants to make trouble. As you will it. The big man replied and took his phone, dialed a cell number and spoke, bring him over here. A few minutes later, wearing a black casual outfit with sunglasses and a sun hat, Spectre came bringing 2 black handbags. Tens of guns' muzzles were pointed at him as a greeting. As he walked to the front of the sofa, he directly threw the 2 black handbags before Songzon, nonchalantly taking a seat on the sofa next to him, and then lifted one of his legs onto the other, saying, frankly, this is my first time visiting someone so gentlemanly and openly like this. But you know, it feels so cool regardless. Reckless and arrogant as you are, I hope that the gift you've sent me doesn't disappoint, said Songzon while shooting a look at Spectre. Why don't you introduce yourself first before I see your gift, mister? I never speak with strangers, unless they are going to part with their lives. Well. I think it's best for you to have a look at the gift I sent you, though. Spectre grinned and said, if anything, don't be deceived by its light and worthless appearance. I guarantee you'll show me a very interesting face once you see the lavish gift I sent you. For a moment, Songzon fell into silence. He motioned to the stalwart man next to him. The latter nodded without a word and came to the front of the 2 black handbags. He squatted and pulled the zipper down only to be greeted by a dripping blood head before him. It was a face he was familiar with. Boss. The stalwart man's face was devoid of any other color but red. He instantly grabbed his pistol out from his waist, training its muzzle right at Spectre. Seeing the 2 heads of his men, killing intent gleamed in Songzon's eyes. He turned to glare at Spectre and growled coldly, they were my loyal men and my powerful lieutenants, yet you're able to kill them. But I assure you, mister. You'll never take even half a step out of this courtyard without giving me a satisfactory statement today. These 2 trashes were your powerful lieutenants? Man, it seems like the so-called famous underboss Songzon turns out to have such worthless underlings, snorted Spectre with contempt. Right, though. I think the Chinese correctly say, some shit's of worthless trash. Man, it seems like my knowledge about Chinese culture has improved recently. He took out the cig slowly and smelled it, lit it up and took a puff. As he puffed out smoke, he spoke again, well, that's the gift my boss ordered me to send you, though. He also sent you his warning to restrain your men to not come out and stop annoying him for 2 days since he's gonna visit you 2 days later in person. He said he hopes that you have sufficient reason to keep your life intact. Who the fuck is your boss? Asked Songzon with a heavy voice. Spectre didn't hurry to answer, and instead leisurely smoked half of the cig and then flicked the butt to the pool. Then he got up and lightly said, you think you can know my boss's name just because you want to learn it? Man, listen to my advice. You'd better think about how to keep your life. That's a much more important issue for you right now. With that said, he took out black gold-plated cards from his pocket. He then calmly put them on the small round table and spoke, you see, I used to leave this card to the dead. You've made me make an exception for the 2nd time. As his voice faded away, a golden thread instantly appeared between his fingers. As it swept toward the strong man's neck, the latter screamed while he raucously laughed and headed to the front gate. On the nape of the strong man, however, appeared a tiny red mark. Along with the pace of Spectre leaving, the slit kept expanding with seeping blood until his head separated from his neck and fell to the ground near Songzon's feet. Fucking bastard. Songzon abruptly got up and, as dozens of stalwart men around him instantly pulled out their guns, his eyes inadvertently swept over the black gold-plated card on the table. There was a flaming black mist insignia carved on the card that was like a demonic fire that sent a painful sensation to his eyes. At this moment, Songzon suddenly shuddered with violently contracting pupils. He loudly ordered. Don't shoot. Tens of his men who were about to open fire at Spectre abruptly stopped before pulling their guns trigger, looking at Songzon with confused faces. With eyes fixed on Spectre, Songzon growled, "Are you Spectre? The world's first assassin Spectre?" Spectre's pace came to a halt. He turned around and put on a slightly regretful face and sighed, "You see, for you to figure out who I am is quite a pity. I was hoping that your garbage underlings would shoot me. My boss did order me not to hurry to kill you, but he didn't say anything about me not fighting back. Do you remember what I just said, Songzon? You're the first man I ever visited so openly and the first one alive after receiving Spectre's Soulcatcher insignia." Songzon shuddered violently inwardly and shouted fiercely, "When and how did the world's first hitman become someone's lackey? Just tell me, who exactly is your boss?" Instead of answering him directly, Spectre turned and waltzed outside and spoke to Songzon with his back facing the man. "You see, the Chinese have an adage that you don't eat the tofu while it's still hot, haste will make waste. I told you my boss will visit you personally 2 days later. You'll know him by then naturally." Tightly clenching his fists, Songzon viciously glared at Spectre leaving. However, a complicated feeling surged inside him. Had it been someone else who came today, he wouldn't have had any shred of hesitation to order his men to shoot the man. However, the person was Spectre, a man he was very afraid of. The moniker of the world's first assassin was absolutely the most horrible existence, and not someone he could confidently order his men to shoot at. "Boss," called out a big man hurriedly. "Shut the fuck up," roared Songzon angrily. A while after, as Spectre's shadow disappeared from his sight, he sat back on the sofa with a grim and nasty expression. He looked at the 3 heads in front of him and fell into silence for a long while. Then, he fished his phone out and dialed a cell number. "Something's up, Songzon," a slightly hoarse voice came out from the phone. With a slightly respectful appearance on his face, Songzon replied, "I'm afraid I'm in deep trouble, Godfather." "Speak." "Spectre, the world's first hitman, just came to visit me. He injured 6 and killed 3 of my men," said Songzon. "What did you say?" "Are you sure he's Spectre?" replied the voice from the phone. The man's voice sounded a bit rushed. "I have no way to verify his true identity, but he left a Soulcatcher insignia. I have once seen a photo of his insignia before and it's exactly the same," answered Songzon. The other party fell into silence for a long while and then said in a heavy and deep voice, "Wait for me there." As the call hung up, Songzon thought over what had happened recently and immediately called his Capo regime Alaway to come immediately. At the 5-star Amanda Hotel. As Tang Xiu finished teaching the human body's acupoints diagram to Zhang Xinya, the suite's door was knocked on. When he opened the door, Spectre immediately came forward and reported, "I visited Songzon as per your order, boss." "Give me the details," said Tang Xiu. Spectre reported in detail and finally said, "I know he's scared of me and I'm afraid that he'll order his men to investigate things about me after I leave, which in extension will point to you, boss." "He'd be damned if he didn't investigate anything about us given his position as the local underboss," replied Tang Xiu calmly. "All right, let him investigate us as long as he doesn't bother me for these 2 days. Also, I need you to investigate something else." "And that is?" "I need to know who's the real kingpin of Bangkok's underworld. I want to know the details before tomorrow night if possible." "Got it," said Spectre. "Shall I get in touch with my contacts here?" "You got some contacts in Thailand?" asked Tang Xiu. "My intel network can be found in every country all over the world, boss," explained Spectre. "They are the people of the Dark Wind organization. I only need to buy intel from them if it's just my personal business." The Dark Wind organization, cold light gleamed in Tang Xiu's eyes and he faintly said, "Tell me how to contact them. I'm gonna buy the intel from them myself. As for you, I don't want you to be noticed by anyone for now. You're now my subordinate, to begin with." "Some people already sniffed out that I'm your man, boss," replied Spectre. You mean Songzon, said Tang Xiu. No worries. Unless some variables happen, he'll only have 3 days left. What variables? Asked Spectre. Instead of answering, Tang Xiu slowly said, among those that I brought out from the 1319 concentration camp, I only took you with me to roam outside. The rest of them are on Clam Island. The fact that you've broken free from there should have been known to the outside world already, so we'll try to stay as low profile as possible so as not to be targeted by some forces. Chapter 938, A Display of Authority. Sand Lotus Club. Brows tightly pressed, Songzon kept smoking cigarette after cigarette and threw the butts on the floor. The appearance of the world's first hitman, Spectre, had literally birthed endless restlessness inside him. Alloway had arrived and stood beside him silently. The fella could still see the dried-up blood on the floor that hadn't yet been cleaned up, making him tremble with fear. Boss Ken has come. A young man with a thin stature sent out a vigorous aura from the outside as he strode fast inside. Songzon raised his head and got up, heading to the courtyard gate. As he saw Kanaja with tens of big men in black uniform coming over, he hurriedly paced forward to greet him and called out, "Big brother." Kanaja shot him an indifferent glance in response. After entering the yard, he directly took a seat on the sofa and asked, "Where's this Spectre?" "He just left," answered Songzon. "Tell me everything," said Kanaja. "I want to know why and how did you annoy him or how you provoked the boss behind him." "I'm not sure about it either." Songzon shook his head and said, "But I suspect that it's related to that female star from China." "Tell me the details," said Kanaja with pressed brows. "All this shit is caused by Alloway, big brother." Pointing at Alloway, Songzon said, "He likes that Chinese female star. Her name is Zhang Xinya and has come here to do some commercial filming. Since he covets her beauty and keeps pestering here and got rejected, he also got a lesson from Zhang Xinya's bodyguards. After I found out that her bodyguards are kind of experts, I sent my men to investigate them. But then, the 2 men I sent were murdered and I found their dead bodies in the Chao Phraya River. I originally assigned some men to investigate the details of the other party, but then Spectre came bringing the heads of my other 2 men." "Zhang Xinya?" Kanaja picked his brows and asked again, "Is this the only trouble you've caused recently?" "It was Alloway who caused this, accurately speaking, big brother," corrected Songzon with a wry smile. Complexion turned pale, Alloway knelt before Kanaja and spoke in a shiver, "Godfather, I've investigated Zhang Xinya's background and she's just a singer in China. Although she brought some bodyguards with her, it's impossible for her to have anything related to the world's top hitman, Spectre. Probably. Spectre's appearance here is not related to this matter." "And, where is this Zhang Xinya now?" asked Kanaja. "She's staying at the 5-star Amanda Hotel. I have shares in the said hotel, so I already sent my men to gather the surveillance footage there," said Alloway. Kanaja coldly humphed and said, "It seems you're not too stupid. Tell your men to send the footage here at once after they get it." Yes. The fella hurriedly took out his cell phone and made a phone call. As dusk came, Tang Xiu accompanied Zhang Xinya to the Amanda Hotel's restaurant. Just as he took a seat at the dining table by the window, Singluan came over. The guy didn't bring the 5 old geezers with him and only brought the petite female. "Hello, Mr. Tang." He came before Tang Xiu with a smiling face. Responding with a smile, Tang Xiu then said, "Has your big brother come back yet, Singluan?" "Not yet." Singluan shook his head and said, "But I got some good news that he's going back in 2 days. He seems to have recruited several experts after he left this time, however. From the intel, it was determined that one of them is Herd, a formidable man who was once a member of the Golden Flame mercenary group." Tang Xiu waved and motioned him to take a seat. Then he lightly smiled and said, "I'm not interested in how many experts Cinquo invited, though. I just hope that he comes back soon." Singluan chuckled and said, if anything, I'll inform you right away the moment he comes back, Mr. Tang. Also, why didn't you tell me in advance when you left for Thailand? This hotel is indeed satisfactory, but quite far from my place. I have a beach villa with beautiful scenery. It'd be much more comfortable for you to stay there. Forget about it for now. Tang Xiu shook his head and said, there's a trivial issue I need to deal with in Bangkok. Singluan zoned out and an angry look appeared on his face after hearing it. You're the most distinguished guest of mine, Mr. Tang. Who the hell dares to annoy you in my turf? Tell me, who are they? I'll send my men to deal with it at once. As Tang Xiu was about to reply, he suddenly saw Spectre approaching with hands in his pocket, whereas Gu Tao and Zhang Ju, who were supposed to be standing guard nearby, also came over unnoticeably. Something happened. After instantly judging the situation, Tang Xiu's eyes then caught a group of people coming into the dining hall's gate. With just a glance, he recognized that Songzan was among them as he had seen his photo from Spectre. Following Tang Xiu's line of sight, Singlu also saw the arrival of these people. His expression abruptly changed. As the young lord of the Dark Shaman clan, he seldom worked hard to manage the clan's industries, but he still had his own reliable intel network and personal connections. These people were headed by Kanaja, a man even his father couldn't ignore. Is it them who Mr. Tang just said to have annoyed him? He recalled how terrifying Tang Xiu was and his expression when he looked at Kanaja and Songzan turned ugly. Walking straight to the dining table where Tang Xiu and Singluan were sitting, Kanaja just gave Tang Xiu a glance before his eyes landed on Singluan. His slightly overweight body came to a stop as he greeted with a smile. I never thought that young Master Singluan would also be here. It's been 6 months since the last time I saw your father. Has he been well? He's great, replied Singluan, brief and apathetic. Such hostility from Singluan was keenly felt by Kanaja. Unnoticeable by anyone, his brows creased slightly. His eyes then landed back on Tang Xiu and he smilingly said, Are you Mr. Tang? Tang Xiu just sat on his chair and didn't get up, but his eyes were locked on Kanaja before they fell on Songzan. I recall that I already warned you through Spectre to not annoy me for 2 days. Yet you didn't listen. You should be very clear about the consequences. Songzan's heart pounded and he quickly glanced to his big brother, Kanaja, and then lowered his head fast. After speaking, Tang Xiu then shot a look again at Kanaja and said, It seems your status is higher than his. A man who can make Songzan lower his head and follow in Bangkok should be the godfather of Bangkok's underworld forces. You're Kanaja, aren't you? I am, replied Kanaja with stretched brows, smiling wider. As I reckon, this hotel has a guest reception room on the 2nd floor. Take your men there since I want to dine here first, said Tang Xiu. Kanaja's expression changed slightly. As an experienced man himself, he was reluctant to recklessly act given that he hadn't yet figured out Tang Xiu's identity, so he nodded and said, All right. I'll be waiting for you there, Mr. Tang. As Kanaja and his men left, Singluan raised his thumb up and praised, so imposing and domineering, Mr. Tang. You see, Kanaja is a definite lord of the underground forces in Bangkok indeed. His power might be less than my Dark Shaman clan, but he is not one to be scoffed at either. Yet, I didn't expect that he'd be careful before you though. Tang Xiu pointed to Spectre at the side whose hands were in his pockets and said with a light smile, Well, he's not afraid of me but him. The revelation made Singluan surprised as he observed Spectre and asked with a puzzled face, And he's? I won't hide it from since we're friends. He's Spectre, my man, explained Tang Xiu smilingly. Spectre? Singluan still looked puzzled. He faintly felt that the name sounded familiar, but he was unable to recall where he had heard of the name. At this moment, the thin stature of a middle-aged man with glasses came over while holding 2 bottles of wine. He respectfully presented the bottles and said, Sirs, ladies, I'm Con Long, the general manager of this hotel. My boss asked me to present you these 2 bottles of wine. He purchased this wine with difficulty from China, in the hopes that it would be able to satisfy you. God's nectar, a smile showed itself on Zhang Xinya's face while she sat next to Tang Xiu. My boss is Songzon, the major shareholder of the hotel, answered Kan Long. Eh? Tang Xiu couldn't help but laugh and commented, does this fellow want to lick my boot or something, or, does he want to test me? That's interesting though. All right. Just put the bottle and go tend to your business. Kan Long frowned, but he still nodded slightly before he turned to leave. Tang Xiu, if they no longer want to look for us for trouble again, let's just drop it, said Zhang Xinya in a whisper. I know you're powerful and you're not afraid of these people. But this place is their domain. The less trouble, the better for us. I know. You can rest your worries. Tang Xiu smiled. The second floor of the Amanda Hotel was partitioned into 6 conference halls, the best of which was a small reception room more than 100 square meters in size. There, Kanaja quietly sat on a leather sofa with fingers clamping a genuine Cuban cigar while silently ruminating about the issue. Ring, ring. Suddenly, his cell phone rang twice. He took his mobile out. After opening the text and reading the sender's name, he saw that it was Bai Tao. He opened the phone book and dialed his number. Something up, Kanaja, a young man's voice was heard from the phone. I know that we haven't met for the last few months, young Master Bai, said Kanaja with a smile. How about visiting Bangkok whenever you have some free time later? You see, there are some European and American canaries here. I guarantee that they will make you satisfied. We got a saying here that nobody visits a temple without a reason, Kanaja, said Bai Tao with a chuckle. You won't call just to invite for playtime in Bangkok, so there must be something else, right? Smart, young Master Bai, said Kanaja with a smile. Well, I do have something I want to ask for calling you. It's about a person's identity. Who? Asked Bai Tao. There's a singer called Zhang Xinya in your country as far as I know, said Kanaja. She's affiliated with a large entertainment company in China. Additionally, I also found a young man with her here whose name is Tang Xiu. To tell you the truth, one of my men seems to have a misunderstanding with this Tang Xiu. Time doesn't allow me to fully investigate this young man's background or identity for now, so might you know anything about this young man? Chapter 939, Horrifying Conjecture. On the phone, Bai Tao was reticent to say much. As brothers old and young, their relationship was a very complicated one. They had known each other for a long time, yet it was not too important a connection to him, though they did have secret cooperation to get a copper mine in Africa. Although he didn't directly involve himself in the endeavor, he still received his share of tens of millions of yuan annually. But at this moment, his heartbeat hiked up for no reason and a slight worry was evident in his eyes. Although he knew that Kanaja was still waiting for his reply, he didn't speak as his mind was analyzing the seriousness of this matter. After all, it was related to Tang Xiu. He knew how tough a figure he was. Ever since he knew him, he deliberately did everything he could to be on good terms with this guy as he knew how powerful this fellow was. In particular was the recent events he had heard of. Even though he didn't take the initiative to contact Tang Xiu about them, he learned about all his deeds from many people and channels. What's your opinion about him, young Master Bai? Kanaja's voice came asking again from the phone. I seriously ask you about this issue, said Bai Tao after taking a deep breath. Have you reached the point where a life and death struggle must occur between you and him? How is this issue related to a life and death situation? Kanaja was left in deep thought for a moment and asked again, like an all-out conflict to the death between me and him? If the situation has come to a life and death conflict, then I'll hand over all my shares in the copper mine in Africa to you, but I'm going to sever any relationship we have in the future, explained Bai Tao in a heavy voice. But if the situation hasn't yet reached such a point, then there's still some room to work around it. Regardless of everything, I advise you to lower your head as humbly as possible, admit your error, and accept your penalty. Kanaja, I can call you Brother Ken now, so I sincerely warn you that even if you can admit your fault and settle your dispute with him, it's best not to have any misgivings about whether lowering your head to him will make you lose face. Are you serious, young Master Bai? Kanaja's complexion changed upon hearing everything and he said in a heavy voice, no matter how powerful this Tangxiu is, this place is Bangkok, my turf. Even if I lose all decorum with him, can he still kill me here? There's something I can tell you that happens when you've lost all decorum with him, said Bai Tao. He can kill you, cull your power, and even exterminate all the people related to you, your entire network. Everything. Acting completely serious, Kanaja asked, are you very familiar with him? Very, very familiar, answered Bai Tao. That's why I know how horrifying his power is. I know you have a very formidable route in Bangkok, Kanaja. You have both wealth and power, as well as the energy to get what you want. You may be able to turn Bangkok and even the whole of Thailand upside down. However, Tangxiu has a very high status in China. He's the young lord of the Tang family of Beijing as well as the owner of the magnificent Tang Corporation. Even I'm still in the dark of how many industries or armed forces he has under him. Kanaja fell into silence. Everything Bai Tao just revealed to him was like a thunder blast that quaked his whole being. He knew the Tang family from Beijing. It was a super powerful family in China. He also knew of the magnificent Tang Corporation, which hailed as a company group with the fastest development in the said country. Even the god's nectar that was his favorite wine was a product of this company. But still, this is Bangkok. However powerful that guy is in China and no matter how high the authority he can command there, shouldn't he at least act low profile in Bangkok? Suddenly, Kanaja was reminded of something. He asked in a heavy voice, young Master Bai, have you learned that Spectre, the world's first assassin, is now working for Tangxiu? Gasp, what did you say? Bai Tao gasped and shouted in alarm. You didn't mishear me, affirmed Kanaja. The world's top hitman, Spectre, is his man. I just saw that man with him today. The incident with the max security prison number 1319 in Israel shocked the whole world. And top hitman Spectre, who had been detained there, went missing along with several hundred other convicts. If, in the case, that Spectre became Tangxiu's man, then the rest of them, muttered Bai Tao. With pupils shrunk all of a sudden, Kanaja felt the strength disappear in his legs, and he nearly slumped to the floor. He also paid attention to the incident that happened in the said prison and was likewise greatly shocked after hearing it. He couldn't see anything related to it previously as he was only bothered about the dreadful identity of Spectre. Only now did he realize a terrifying conjecture on this issue. If, in the case that Tangxiu was really the mastermind behind the incident of the max security prison 1319 in Israel, then, isn't he too terrifying? No way, that's very unlikely, no, murmured Kanaja with trembling lips. I know who he is and what he's capable of, Kanaja, replied Bai Tao hollowly. There's nothing he dares not to do, even things I can't even think of. His personal combat prowess, his power and influence, his crazy rocket speed money-gathering methods, everything has proved his ability. Spill out everything, Kanaja. What exactly happened between you and him? Kanaja told him the whole story of the issue and finally said with a hollow voice, I just learned about this issue today myself. Also, the young lord of an ancient dark shaman clan in Thailand is also together with him. I can see that they have a very unusual connection. Listen to me, urged Bai Tao. It's best to lower your head as humbly as possible. Offer him everything you can think of. If he wants to beat you, curse you, or even kill you, just offer your neck directly. From what I understand about him, he's likely to let you off if you take the initiative to admit your fault and act soft before him. Give him a tough attitude and he'll give you a much tougher attitude. I already told you everything you should do, Kanaja. The rest will depend on yourself, so do your best. Wait a sec. Knowing that Bai Tao wanted to hang up, Kanaja immediately called out, "Young Master Bai, I see you as my younger brother and we've known each other for years. How about giving me a helping hand? I'm in deep shit now, so please help me." "I don't know about, how is your relationship with him, exactly?" Bai Tao realized what Kanaja had in mind, but he didn't want to poke his nose in this turbid issue. However, he remembered the tens of millions of yuan dividends he obtains from Africa annually, and he felt rather reluctant to lose it. More so that he also understood Kanaja's nature. If he helped this guy to solve this problem, he might secure more benefits from him. Countless thoughts popped in and out of his mind as he weighed all the pros and cons of every option. But knowing that the situation between Kanaja and Tang Xiu hadn't yet reached a life-and-death conflict, he concluded that the former definitely had nothing to do with the matter. Even if he were to make Tang Xiu displeased, he was the younger brother of both Kanaja and Tang Xiu's cousin. Hence, it was very likely that Tang Xiu would drop the matter if he helped clear the issue by pulling their relationship to the table. After giving it some thought, Bai Tao said, "You must wait for Tang Xiu with prudence, Kanaja. And be sure to lower your head. I'll call him later, but I don't dare give you a 100% guarantee that he's going to drop this matter. After all, it's Zhang Xinya who holds the key in this matter." "Exactly what kind of relationship exists between her and him?" asked Kanaja quickly. "You see, Tang Xiu kinda has too strong a charm as a man. Combine that with his devilish luck," said Bai Tao with a wry chuckle. "My guess is that she is his woman. Also, Zhang Xinya's works in Bangkok are related to the entertainment company she's affiliated with. This company is founded by some science who have a powerful background in China, and Tang Xiu is among the shareholders. Your men harbored untoward intention towards Zhang Xinya, so I'm guessing that the scheme against Zhang Xinya that offended Tang Xiu is not just one person. Songzan and Alawei. These two fucking bastards just pushed me into this deep shit. Had I known earlier about this, I'd never have come to this hotel and would have kept myself out of this fucking shit. I hope you really can help me out of this shit, young Master Bai. I'll remember this huge favor later and you can be sure that you'll have my thanks after this shit is dealt with properly." Kanaja had a hunch that Tang Xiu was the real mastermind behind the number 1319 max security prison in Israel. That thought made his scalp tingle and sent a chill down his spine. "I will," replied Bai Tao. Inside the Amanda Hotel's restaurant, Singluan felt like the dishes he ate were tasteless at first. He was aware of how powerful Tang Xiu was, yet he was unsure whether Tang Xiu could overwhelm Kanaja with absolute strength in Bangkok. He still was yet to take control over the Dark Shaman clan, so he was unable to gather enough manpower to help Tang Xiu even if he wanted to. However, seeing that the man himself seemed to show no fear and even chatted with the bell next to him so leisurely, his slight worry disappeared and he was back to normal again. "What's your plan to deal with Kanaja regarding this matter, Mr. Tang? I already chose to cooperate with you, so you can expect that I'll stand with you no matter the situation. Even if you must fight that man, I'll charge forward with you," said Singluan with a serious face. He had already considered it. Tang Xiu put down his chopsticks and raised his head. He looked at him with a smile and said, "This is nothing but a trivial issue, so you don't need to involve yourself, though. I can completely cull all the power Kanaja has if I want to. However, this guy has quite an influence in Thailand, regardless. If he's able to lower his head and also can accept my condition, I can give him some leeway and let him off." "What conditions have you thought of to make him accept?" asked Singluan quickly. "Well, don't you think that having many more helpers would be good for you when we deal with your big brother later?" asked Tang Xiu smilingly. Singluan's eyes turned wide instantly and he replied in surprise, "You mean, you will let him off in order to make him help us? But is this even possible? You see, aside from the fact that he also has a certain friendship with my father, I'm afraid that just his hegemonic nature alone." "What are you afraid of, though?" asked Tang Xiu smilingly. All right. Put your worry in your belly for now. It's not like I have already told him my conditions yet, so how would we know whether or not he'd keep that attitude? Singluan nodded without a word. Tang Xiu's idea had piqued his interest regardless. If Kanaja could really stand on his side in the power struggle between him and his brother, becoming the heir of the Dark Shaman clan was a sure shot. Suddenly, he recalled another issue and hurriedly asked, "But Mr. Tang, are you not afraid any leaks will occur from his side?" "You mean you're afraid that he'll leak our plan to get rid of your big brother in advance?" asked Tang Xiu back with squinted eyes. "That's right." Singluan nodded. "It's a plan that we must keep confidential. I don't know if my brother has any friendship with Kanaja. If they are friends, then it will spell big trouble." Note: to make it not confuse readers, I changed Tang Xiu's younger brother to Tang Xiu's cousin here since Bai Tao is Chu Yi's friend, younger brother, and the latter is Tang Xiu's cousin. Chapter 940, 1 Yuan for One Life. Such a possibility like you just said won't happen. Tang Xiu calmly nodded and said, "All right, let's drop the subject for now. I'll just ask him to give his word. There's nothing of concern once we start moving, even if he turns his back and aims his gun to us by then." "All right. The idea is sound." Singluan nodded and said, prepping for the worst, as well as its countermeasure, in advance. Tang Xiu lightly smiled and waved to Zhang Ju and Gu Tao nearby. As the duo came over, he said, "You both will escort Xinya back to her suite and be responsible for her safety. Also, contact Ao. Ask him about the matter in Ning City. If they are done with it, tell them to leave for Bangkok directly." "Understood," answered the duo in unison. Turning to look at Zhang Xinya, Tang Xiu then said, "Go back to your room and wait for me there. I'm going to settle this issue." "Would you like me to go with you?" she asked with a worried face. "I'm afraid. You have seen what I'm capable of, haven't you?" Tang Xiu interrupted her and said smilingly, "It's all right. Let alone Kanaja, even the most powerful kingpin in this country cannot possibly harm me. All right, listen to me. Go back and have some rest. I'll be back in half an hour at most." "All right, then." Zhang Shenya realized that she wouldn't be able to help even if she came along. She immediately nodded and left. A few minutes later, Tang Xiu and Singluan came to the conference hall. When they saw hostile men under Kanaja, their eyes shot back at them with contempt as they nonchalantly waltzed forward to the front of Kanaja and apathetically said, "Don't think of playing some cheap tricks on me. You've come with both of them, meaning you're going to stand for them. Whatever path you choose to take, I'll take them all." "You misunderstood me, Mr. Tang," said Kanaja with a hollow smile. "I've come to you because I already know that the fault is on my men and is quite big nonetheless. That's why I brought them to you to apologize to Ms. Zhang. I've already heard of your resounding distinguished name. My men are in the wrong, so punish them however you see it fit." This made Tang Xiu crease his brows due to his surprise. This wasn't Kanaja's attitude just a bit ago, right? What made him change his attitude, or what exactly happened before he arrived? Even if this fella did have some ways to investigate his identity in China, what he could find on the surface should be his status as a scion of the Tang family, the big boss of the magnificent Tang Corporation, and a young divine doctor from the Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. It was impossible for him to figure out his relationship with the everlasting feast hall. So where is the problem then? Tang Xiu observed Kanaja and was withdrawn for several seconds before he slowly said, "It seems like I just looked down on you, Kanaja." Although Kanaja couldn't see Spectre around, it didn't spare him from shuddering with fear inside. He let out an obsequious smile, saying, "No, no, no. You're overpraising me, Mr. Tang. Just like the Chinese adage says, I'm just as light as a feather, nothing compared to you." "You also know about Chinese culture," said Tang Xiu in surprise. "I know some trivial things, no more," answered Kanaja in awkward Mandarin. "I like Chinese culture, but I have little time to learn it," hence, I only have some shallow knowledge about it. This was a surprise to Tang Xiu as he didn't expect that the underground lord in Bangkok was not only proficient in English, but was also able to speak Mandarin. This guy was definitely not your ordinary layman. It's no wonder that he can paint anything black or white as he pleases in Bangkok. It seems that this guy is exceptionally adept in doing various things well. You've truly opened my eyes, Kanaja. Alright, let's go back to speaking in English since your Mandarin is rather awkward. You see, your men have truly annoyed me and I'm very angry at them for harboring such untoward intention and conspiring against my woman. You can expect that I'll never drop this shit if you don't give a satisfactory explanation. Instead of answering, Kanaja directly got up and maliciously kicked Songzan and Aloe's legs to make them bend and kneel before Tang Xiu. He then obsequiously smiled and said, I admit that it was these two bastards' mistakes, all the blame is on them. But I also hope that you can be magnanimous and take mercy on them to spare their lives. I'll order them to make up for their mistake and compensate you. Additionally, Songzan has told me 4 times that he admires you. It's just that he didn't know that Miss Zhang is your woman and thus harbored some crooked intentions to her. Please spare and forgive him this time, given how loyal of your admirer he has always been. He's my admirer, huh? And tell me, why would you become my admirer in the first place? Asked Tang Xiu with a faint smile. I don't think my name has spread to Thailand or would be known to anyone here, though. You're the big boss of the magnificent Tang Corporation, the company that produces the god's nectar. Kanaja hurriedly interjected, that's a great wine all of us have dreamed of tasting here. You know so much about me? Tang Xiu's countenance changed and he faintly said, well. You seem to have investigated me thoroughly, huh? No. Kanaja hurriedly waved. I didn't. Absolutely. I was just... Ring. At this time, however, Tang Xiu's smartphone rang, interrupting Kanaja's speech. Tang Xiu took his handset out and looked at the caller displayed on its screen. It was Bai Tao, which somehow made him feel a bit strange since the guy hadn't once called him for a long time. How did he suddenly remember to give him a call now? Although he felt puzzled, he still picked up his call and spoke with a light smile. Hey, old Bai. I got a trivial issue I need to deal with now, so I'll call you back later if you have nothing urgent. No. Don't rush to hang up, Tang Xiu, said Bai Tao. There's something I want to ask you about, hence why I'm calling you now. What is it? Asked Tang Xiu. Well. It's a plea from someone else that I want you to hear, frankly, said Bai Tao with a wry voice. Kanaja should be with you now, right? You know him? Asked Tang Xiu. I got acquainted with him several years ago. Well, a kind of discord lead to concord between us, narrated Bai Tao. But then we partnered to do some business in Africa. He just called to ask about you and I learned that it was his men who have annoyed you. No shit, old Bai. When did you have such a godly ability to get acquainted with a kingpin of Bangkok's underworld? Commented Tang Xiu with a strange voice, you even went so far to become his partner? Can you not make fun of me, Tang Xiu? Bai Tao wryly smiled and said, if anything, if you don't have a deep grudge with him, can you give him a chance to apologize on the account of my face? Well, since it's you who has reached out, it would be hardly justifiable if I don't give you face, said Tang Xiu. Besides, he's not the one who has annoyed me. He just gives his men his support. All right, I won't hold him responsible, but as for the 2 men under him. His men are his men and I won't poke my nose about them, said Bai Tao in a hurry. It's fine, then. Tang Xiu smiled. As the call ended, Tang Xiu gave a thumbs up to Kanaja and praised, I really didn't expect that you got yourself a shield to protect your life with. You know, I have a very good relationship with Bai Tao, so on the account of his face, I won't hold you responsible for what your men did. But that doesn't mean I can spare them and let them off scot-free. Especially him. Tang Xiu then pointed to the ghastly pale Alloway and said in a heavy voice, "You've annoyed my woman, resulting in only a dead end." This shit not only sent his men to carry out his untoward intention, but also personally acted. Alloway didn't speak English, but he was perfectly aware of how deep the trouble he just dug was. To make even his underboss, and the godfather of Bangkok's underworld Kanaja act so humble and obsequious before this person meant something else entirely. Upon seeing Tang Xiu point at him, he hurriedly shouted, "Please forgive me. Godfather, please help me. I'm willing to apologize and compensate for my fault." Taking a deep breath, Kanaja turned and nodded to the man next to him. The lean man then dashed to Alloway and pierced his heart with a sharp dagger. In just a short few seconds, the fellow was dead. Songzon was horrified and quickly panicked. He anxiously looked at Kanaja and called out, "Big brother." Kanaja was unresponsive for a while and then commanded, "Immediately prepare $50 million as a token of apology to Mr. Tang and Ms. Zhang after you go back. I remember that you also have a very good diamond in your collection. Ms. Zhang is a very beautiful woman. She's the only person qualified to wear it." Songzon was pleasantly surprised. However, though he was distressed and unwilling as he was losing $50 million and that 40-carat diamond, he was secretly relieved inwardly if it meant that his life was spared. He nodded without hesitation. "I'll send my men to deliver them once I get back." "You will deliver them by yourself," shouted Kanaja in a growl. "Yes, yes, yes. I'll do as you say," replied Songzon hurriedly. Looking satisfied, Kanaja nodded and turned to look at Tang Xiu and asked, "What do you think of this solution, Mr. Tang? Is it to your satisfaction?" "I'm not short on money, nor do I have a need for diamonds, Kanaja." Tang Xiu let out a faint smile and said, "Apologizing in this manner is meaningless to me. Of course, I'll completely drop this matter should you accept my condition." This immediately made Kanaja's heart tighten and he immediately asked, "What condition?" "You just need to comply in advance." "I'll only tell you about the condition when the time is right," said Tang Xiu. Kanaja then recalled the soul catcher insignia specter left to Songzon before. He then nodded and said, "I give you my word. I'll definitely keep my word as long as it is within my capability." Tang Xiu was satisfied and nodded. He then waved to Songzon, motioning him to get up and said, "Kanaja, how about we have a private chat?" With his complexion shifted, Kanaja immediately nodded and said, "All of you go and wait for me outside." Shortly after, only Tang Xiu and Kanaja remained inside the reception room. Although Singluan was very curious what kind of subject the former wanted to discuss with the latter, he still left. "What do you want to talk to me about, Mr. Tang?" "Mr. Kanaja, if I were to compensate you to buy the lives of your men, can you or can you not comply with my request?" asked Tang Xiu with a faint smile. "What do you mean?" inquired Kanaja. His complexion, however, changed noticeably. "What I mean is, I want to buy human lives for 1 yuan each," answered Tang Xiu. "I'm not sure about the number, but it should be more or less around a dozen."